Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dissect the brilliant narrative arc of a phenomenal piece of short fiction known as the 13th Floor Incident. We're going to break down exactly how a story manipulates pacing, atmosphere, and tension to take a completely mundane experience and turn it into an absolute nightmare.
So let's jump right in with a pretty chilling question. What happens when your elevator skips the ground floor? We are actually going to skip our usual agenda today, mostly because I absolutely do not want to spoil the incredible climax waiting at the very end of this ride. We're going to experience this narrative descent together, step by step.
All right, Section 1, The Descent from Normalcy. Any effective horror story has to first establish a deeply relatable baseline, right? Here, the author purposefully sets up this tired, everyday scene. Picture this. It's 11:58 p.m. on a quiet Sunday night. Our narrator is finishing up a long shift, stepping into an empty elevator on the 12th floor, and they just want to head down to the parking garage and go home. This super mundane setup creates a sharp, powerful contrast with the sudden acceleration of terror that's about to happen. It's an environment we all know: quiet, sterile, corporate, and completely normal. And this brilliantly illustrates the physical drop. The doors slide shut, you press the button for floor 1, but then the elevator jerks. It begins the slow descent, but it misses the lobby entirely, and the floor indicator lights just start glitching wildly. The timeline here literally traces the panic as it skips past 1 and drops into impossible negative numbers: -1, -2, -3, all the way down. The pacing here really begins to pick up, completely mirroring that feeling of your stomach dropping in a freefall. Which brings us to Section 2, Floor -13. The sheer momentum of that descent comes to a really jarring end, and the digital screen display is just this single, glowing, impossible symbol: -13. Now, 13 is already a number totally steeped in superstition, but placing it in the negative, that forces the narrator and honestly us as the audience to process that they are far, far beyond the map of the real world. This is the exact threshold where reality completely fractures. Notice the sheer whiplash here between the mundane safety the narrator expected and the deeply unsettling reality they get. They expected the boring concrete pillars of the parking garage. Instead, as those metallic doors slowly creak open, the reality is this endless, pitch-black hallway lined with rusted doors and flickering fluorescent lights. The transition is visually jarring, ripping us from a modern elevator straight into a space of pure decay. To make that isolation truly sink in, the story deploys some incredibly vivid sensory language. Look at this quote: "The air inside smelt like damp soil and old iron." By invoking smell, the author drops us right there in that musty, decaying atmosphere. And it's in this specific environment that the narrator spots it: a tall figure, wrapped in decaying bandages, standing right in the middle of the dark corridor, staring directly into the elevator. Paired directly with that last detail, this sensory quote shifts us from smell to sound, its footfalls echoing like heavy stone hitting concrete. The stakes just got raised exponentially. This decaying figure isn't just some static image, it's active, it's moving toward the cabin. That heavy, deliberate sound of stone on concrete communicates this terrifying, unstoppable weight. Let's dive into Section 3, Escaping the Dark Corridor. This is where the narrative pacing shifts entirely from a dread-filled creep to frantic, rapid action. We see the escalating panic step by step. Step 1, the narrator is panicking, repeatedly slamming their hand onto the door close button, which is a deeply relatable reaction. We've all done that. Step 2, the creature steps forward, and with every single step, the lights in the hallway shatter one by one, plunging the corridor into total darkness. The darkness is literally chasing the narrator. Step 3, just as its long, pale fingers reach between the closing doors, the doors slam shut with a loud bang, and we're left with this sudden, absolute, dead-stop silence. And that leads us to Section 4, the final reveal. The doors are closed. The narrator breathes a massive sigh of relief as the elevator finally starts moving back up. But with a touch of dark irony, because, so much for an easy commute home, technology glitches one last time. The narrator does what literally any of us would do after a stressful event. They look down at their phone screen to check the time. But the front camera automatically turns on. It is a brilliant use of a modern, everyday device to deliver a classic scare, completely subverting that false sense of safety we just felt. So here is the absolute gut punch of a realization. On the screen of the phone, the narrator sees themselves, but directly behind them, standing inside the small elevator cabin, leaning right over their shoulder, is the bandaged figure. They didn't escape the creature in the hallway by closing the doors. They accidentally locked themselves inside the box with it. The space they thought was safe is actually a cage. And then the story delivers its final chilling warning, breaking the fourth wall to speak directly to anyone reading it. If your elevator ever stops at a floor that doesn't exist, do not look up. It reaches out from the text and implicates you directly, completely blurring the lines between fiction and our own reality.
Finally, Section 5. Why this terrifies us. We really need to look at why this specific narrative is so incredibly effective at getting under our skin. It's not just about monsters, it's about psychology. It succeeds because it grounds the fiction in highly relatable fears. First, it exploits our primal fear of confined spaces. Claustrophobia. You simply can't run in an elevator. Second, it highlights our deep vulnerability to technology that we can't control. The elevator malfunctioning, the phone camera glitching on its own, and third, the absolute subversion of a successful escape. We are conditioned to feel relief when the doors close, which makes that final twist all the more devastating. I'm going to leave you with this final, lingering thought to ensure you remember this explainer. How are you going to feel the next time you step into an empty elevator late at night? The next time you finish a late shift, those metal doors slide shut, and you press the button for the ground floor? Just remember not to look at your phone camera. Thank you for diving into the structure of fear with me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and as always, stay curious.